Vanakkam. As we all may be aware, the de Quervain's disease or de Quervain syndrome, as it may be called, is a pretty painful condition that can totally restrict the function of the hand. But the good news is that it is correctable. The pain can be relieved and hand function can be restored completely. The secrets to achieving this lie in a correct clinical diagnosis based mainly on the clinical examination, ruling out the other conditions that can mimic the situation, grasps the terminal phalangeal region of the thumb and adducts the thumb and ulnar deviates the wrist, and taking care during the steps of the surgery to achieve a good result. This can be ensured by making sure that we are able to visualize the abductor pollicis longus lips. Let us see these features in this video. We shall deal with the de Quervain syndrome under the headings of introduction, anatomy, pathophysiology and etiology, the clinical examination, the differential diagnosis and the management, which will consist of the non-operative and operative options. This syndrome was first described in 1895 by Fritz de Quervain, a Swiss surgeon, who published 5 case reports of patients with a tender, thickened first dorsal compartment at the wrist. We are aware that there are 8 dorsal compartments at the level of the wrist, of which the first dorsal compartment serves as the passage for the abductor pollicis longus tendon and the extensor pollicis brevis tendons, and this first dorsal compartment is situated over the lower end of the radius, just proximal to the radial styloid. The compartment has an average length of about 2 centimeters. Commonly, there are 2 slips of the abductor pollicis longus and a single slip of the extensor pollicis brevis, and this arrangement is seen in about 70% of the patients. And usually both the tendons are housed in a single tunnel, but 2 or more separate tunnels also can be seen, and sometimes there is a longitudinal septum between the 2 sub-compartments in about 47% of the specimen. The condition of de Quervain syndrome is commoner seen in women than in men, and especially in the postpartum period. The commonest age of affliction is about 30 to 50 years, and it commonly affects the dominant wrist. The risk factors seem to be repetitive movements of the hand and thumb, especially seen in texting on the cell phones. These repetitive movements of the hand are also seen in golfers and racket sports, and also in certain specialized occupations like surgeons performing laparoscopic procedures and doctors performing endoscopic procedures. Other conditions like trauma and rheumatic diseases can also serve as risk factors for development of de Quervain syndrome. What actually happens in these patients is that there is a non-inflammatory thickening of the tendons and the synovial sheaths of the compartment due to these repetitive movements, and obviously it involves the first dorsal extensor compartment containing the extensor pollicis brevis and the abductor pollicis longus tendons. There is a thickening and myxoid degeneration, which is a chronic degenerative process as opposed to inflammation. The keystone of making a diagnosis of de Quervain syndrome is the clinical examination, and this consists mainly of 2 maneuvers that need to be performed: the Finkelstein maneuver and the Eschoff maneuver. The Finkelstein maneuver or the test was described by Harry Finkelstein, an American surgeon, in 1930. The involved hand is allowed to hang over the edge of the examination couch. The examiner grasps the terminal phalangeal region of the thumb and adducts the thumb and ulnar deviates the wrist. A positive test will be shown by pain at the level of the lower end of the radius on the radial side of the wrist. The Eschoff test was described in 1927 and is also a provocative test like the Finkelstein maneuver, but we need to be careful about performing this maneuver as it may cause extreme pain to the patient. The Finkelstein test consisted of just holding the thumb of the patient and ulnar deviating the wrist. But in the Eschoff maneuver, the patient is asked to adduct the thumb, place it on the palm and close the fist using all the other fingers. In this position, the examiner holds the entire fist and ulnar deviates the wrist. severe pain at the wrist will indicate a positive response. But we need to remember that this test produces more false positive results than the test described by Finkelstein. Even though the clinical diagnosis may point to a de Quervain syndrome, there are three important diagnoses that should be differentiated. All these three conditions cause pain at or around the level of the wrist: carpometacarpal joint arthritis of the thumb, intersection syndrome, and Wartenberg syndrome. The carpometacarpal joint arthritis leads to pain due to degeneration of the trapeziometacarpal joint at the thumb. It is associated with pain on the grind test of the thumb. It is also important to note that the pain associated with the carpometacarpal joint arthritis of the thumb is more on the volar aspect of the wrist and a little distal to the crease when compared to the pain associated with the de Quervain syndrome. The second differential diagnosis is the intersection syndrome, which is a painful condition when inflammation at intersection of the muscle bellies of the abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis over the extensor carpi radialis longus and the extensor carpi radialis brevis. So, the first and second dorsal muscle compartments intersect. The mechanism of injury is usually repetitive resisted extension, as with rowing, weightlifting, or pulling heavy objects. This is also associated with pain on wrist extension, which is not present in de Quervain syndrome. The location of the pain in this syndrome is more on the extensor aspect of the wrist and more proximal as compared to the pain that is seen in the de Quervain syndrome. The third condition that should be differentiated is the chiralgia paresthetica, otherwise known as the Wartenberg syndrome, which is a neuropathy caused by compression or trauma to the superficial branch of the radial nerve. Symptoms include numbness, tingling, burning, or pain, which will not be seen in a de Quervain syndrome. Since it is a sensory branch, there is no motor impairment in this condition, and this condition is not dependent on motion of the hand or fingers, which can easily differentiate it from the de Quervain syndrome. And the pain that may be present in this syndrome is a little more proximal to the pain that is seen in the de Quervain syndrome. The investigation that would be useful to detect and document the de Quervain syndrome is the ultrasound, which can show a thickening of the first dorsal compartment, and more importantly, it can detect the anatomical arrangement of the tendons within the first extensor compartment. The retinacular thickening, the multiple slips of the abductor pollicis longus, and the presence of a vertical septum within the compartment can all be shown clearly in an ultrasound. The management of the de Quervain syndrome can either be non-operative or operative. The non-operative modalities of management include activity modification, the use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs for acute episodes of pain, and splinting in the form of a thumb spica splint to prevent movements of the thumb. Corticosteroid injections have also been proved to be useful in de Quervain syndrome. This technique was introduced by Jared Ismond in 1955, and it has been proved to be an effective form of conservative management of the de Quervain syndrome in approximately 50% of the patients. But steroid injections in patients with a separate EPB compartment may be less reliable or effective. Surgery in a patient with de Quervain syndrome is indicated in long-standing symptoms, or the pain is not relieved by conservative methods like activity modification or splinting, or it may not be possible to modify the activities. For example, in surgeons or endoscopists, it may not be possible to modify the activities, so a surgical management is better indicated. Now let us see the surgical technique and the nuances. First, we need to palpate the lower border of the radius on the lateral aspect of the wrist. That distal point of the palpable radius will form the distal end of the incision that we are planning. Proximally, if you palpate over the lower border of the radius, we will notice a swelling and then it abruptly drops off. That is the proximal end of the first dorsal compartment retinaculum. I prefer to make a longitudinal incision between these 2 points. The length of the incision would be about 2.5 to 3 centimeters maximum. This affords better exposure of the retinaculum and also exposure of the superficial branch of the radial nerve. So the incision is marked between these 2 points, and this will be the arrangement of the pulley, and this will represent the position of the superficial branch of the radial nerve. Having made the markings, now we need to infiltrate local anesthetic solution. I prefer to use a combination of about 3 ml of bupivacaine 0.5%, 2 ml of xylocaine 2%, and 5 ml of distilled water. This is for an average adult patient of about 60 kilograms. If the patient is apprehensive, a sedative can also be given by the standby anesthetist, allay the apprehensions. But local anesthetic is ideal because we need to test the movements after the surgical release, and it would be better if the patient is conscious. Now the tourniquet that has been applied on the arm can be raised, and the patients can usually tolerate this tourniquet for about 15 to 20 minutes without having any undue pain. The incision is made through the skin and subcutaneous tissue, and while doing this, skin traction must be applied on the flexor aspect and the extensor aspect of the lower part of the wrist to stretch the skin for ease of incision. Once the incision has been made, dissection must be done in the longitudinal direction using a blunt scissors to expose the first dorsal compartment, and care must be taken to avoid injury to the superficial fibers of the branch of the radial nerve. On exposure, we will see the structures in this fashion. The EPB and APL tendons entering the first dorsal compartment. In the exposure that we have made, we may not be able to see the tendons immediately. We will only make out the surface of the first dorsal compartment. The superficial branch of the radial nerve will be seen slightly volar to this dissection. Usually there are 2 branches at this level, but one of the branches, that is the dorsal branch, might have already branched into 2 branches on its own. Immediately on identification, we need to protect these branches with a gentle retraction. Now we need to dissect and excise the soft tissues over the first dorsal compartment retinaculum and expose the distal end, proximal end, volar side and the dorsal side. Our incision will be planned somewhere over there in the dorsal part of the retinaculum. Before we make the incision to release the retinaculum, let us see some of the important points. First is, we need to incise on the dorsal side only. This is because if we make an incision on the volar side and release it, when there is a flexion of the wrist and active movements of the thumb, the tendons will tend to gutter out and bowstring. This will lead not only to pain but also decreased efficiency of the movements. Only in a situation where there is a ganglion cyst from the tendon sheath, then the sheath can be excised. Even in this situation, it is ideal to reconstruct the patch with a small strip of extensor retinaculum graft taken from the second compartment. After releasing the retinaculum, the tendons must be examined and any prominent synovial tissue within the tunnel should be excised. Now the incision can be made on the dorsal aspect of the retinaculum as we have seen. This incision is usually done with the number 15 blade, taking care to avoid injury to the underlying tendons. The incision must go from the proximal to the distal and completely release the compartment. After doing the release, we must check to make sure that the tendons are totally free and there is no extra compartment of the extensor pollicis brevis. This can be ensured by making sure that we are able to visualize the abductor pollicis longus lips and the extensor pollicis brevis tendon. Having done the release, we need to check the unhindered movements of the thumb and wrist. The question may be, when there is a local anesthetic that has been infiltrated, how will the patient be able to feel the pain? The most important thing to remember here is this pain was caused by the catch in the tendon movement through the compartment. So the patient will be able to perceive the catch if there is any on doing these movements. Usually the patient will be able to say that the movements are now totally free. Now the tourniquet must be released and perfect hemostasis achieved before a closure can be done using a subcutaneous suture with Vicryl and a subcuticular suture for the skin. A light dressing with a compression bandage is ideal after the suturing. We must also inform the patient and allow and encourage movements right from the table itself. Suture removal can be done when it is dry. The complications that can be expected from this surgery are that the sensory branch of the radial nerve may be injured and a neuroma may form. This can be prevented by early identification of the superficial branch of the radial nerve and protection of the nerve from injury. The second complication that can occur is a failure to decompress with recurrence of symptoms. Now this is usually due to failure to recognize and decompress the separate compartments that can exist, as we have already discussed, for the extensor pollicis brevis or the abductor pollicis longus. This can be prevented by complete identification of the tendons in the sheath and making sure that the movements are full and free after release. I hope you liked this video. I enjoyed making it. Please click on the shown links to see more about other procedures like the trigger finger release, and do not forget to subscribe to keep connected with the latest in learning hand surgery.